Welcome back to the channel. It's been a week since we did the charcuterie board, and we've dropped 30 degrees in that matter of time. You can see my breath coming out now. It was 65 last weekend. We're down to like 33 this morning, so it's probably mid-30s right now. So fall is here, November, right? Michigan Novembers. So today, kind of unexpected, but my son is in Cub Scouts, and one of the things that's coming up we do every January is Winterfest, where we meet at a kind of a park and do a bunch of outdoor winter activities. And this year been tasked to make a snow snake. If you don't know what a snow snake is, it's a long 6-foot piece of wood that the boys will carve into a snake. Essentially, it looks like a snake. You paint it up, decorate it however you want. You can carve it however you want, but you race it down a sledding hill, and it basically becomes a race. So each group of kids builds their own snake. But our November pack meeting, where we all meet as a group, is coming up here next week, and I said I would make one to kind of show as an example. So I figured while I'm making it, I might as well show you guys how to make it if somebody's interested. Maybe you're in scouting or just have a interest in making one. They are kind of fun. You kind of carve them, make them however you want. And then if you have like a local sledding hill or even just a hill. When I was a kid, I did it with my dad and a group of friends. We would race him down a hill and then across a frozen lake, and it would whoever got the furthest. But for us, we don't have a lake nearby that's going to be frozen. The park we have is a river at the bottom of the hill, but that's usually pretty much flowing year round. So I bought a 4x4, and essentially we're just going to kind of rough shape out kind of a rough drawing snake on here. You want the bottom to be fairly flat. Now I'm using a 4x4, but you can use like a hand railing. We'd go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or something. Your big box store, you can get like railing by the foot. If you bought like a handrail 6 feet and flipped it over, that kind of natural, the top where you put your hand acts as almost like kind of a belly. However, hand railing is usually oak and is not cheap at the moment with wood prices the way they are. So it was actually cheaper for me to get this 4x4, which makes no sense because it's bigger wood, but it's more for us to cut off, but that's okay. We'll work through it. So kind of to get started, I'm just going to kind of real rough out kind of a snake head. And kind of use the material that we have here. So, and you can give it like humps and stuff if you want, like it's gonna, move in a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything perfect, just kind of what you feel. The main part is you want the head to be kind of up as it's going down the hill. You don't want it to kind of bury itself in. So the bottom you can just kind of leave almost flat, but we'll round it a bit. And then we got longer than 6 feet, so we want to go, there's our 6-foot mark right there. So we want to kind of point the tail, right? All right, so then I'll just kind of waves and meet that. So I am not by any means doing a doing anything. You don't have to keep the bottom flat, but if you use the bottom of the board as your base, so if you're curving it, you make the base towards the end of the board, then at least they'll all be on the kind of the same plane and they'll ride down together. So I don't know the logistics of it, I don't know if that's the right word, but essentially so we're gonna do that, right? If I wonder if less contact points on the ground will make it slide faster. We'll see. But I'll bring you guys in here for a closer look. So essentially we've got our head kind of shaped out, right? And we're gonna make this three-dimensional, but this is kind of the side view. So we've got our head shaped out and he's just kind of, you know, up and down, however you want it to be. But essentially remember it's should be straight line kind of going down a hill, and then, you know, we kind of went up and down here and then got to the end. That's our 6 foot mark. It was supposed to be 6 feet long. I couldn't get a 6 footer, so I had to buy an 8, so we'll cut 2 feet off, and then in the end we just kind of brought it to a point for its tail. Wrap myself all around my stool here with this damn cord. Okay, so now we've got kind of our rough line roughed out. So what I'm going to do is come in with a handsaw, and I'm just going to cut a whole bunch of relief cuts down to my top line here, and just keep cutting them as straight. It doesn't have to be straight, but I mean, try to cut straight. Good practice, cut straight. But we're going to cut kind of across so that we're cutting the same depth on both sides, I guess I should say. So not so much this way, but make sure you're this way, parallel to the board. We're going to cut all the way down, and then we're going to come through with a hammer, and I've got like one of my just grunt chisels that I don't care too much about. We'll chisel it as much as we can. We'll kind of shape it. I got a drawn knife, we can kind of shape it a little bit. You can use grinders, sanders, whatever you want to do to shape it, files, to kind of round it. But that's how we're going to get kind of a rough shape out of it. And then, you know, once we cut all those straight lines, you'll be able to come through with a hammer and kind of bust off a lot of them and get a lot of material off fast. So we're going to start with that, and we'll start cutting. Okay, so we're just going to get started here. Try to do this where you guys can see it, but essentially just down to that line. Probably not easiest doing this while sitting. All right, just gonna keep doing this all the way down the line. This is gonna be your kind of most tedious process throughout the thing. So maybe the railing, railing's worth it to you to kind of spend that money, because it's less material you gotta hog off, right? But this is moving around on me a lot, so I'm gonna take a wood clamp, F clamp, clamp this down a little bit. That should help it from moving so much. and breathe for a second, and we'll see if we can break any of this stuff out. There we go. This is just real rough. Once you get one out, you just start just hogging off chunks. Watch your eyes when you do this. I'm safety squinting, but you want to use eye protection. Like you can see as I'm hitting this, pieces of wood are coming flying off, so use eye protection, safety glasses. Don't be like me. I'm not here to set good examples. I'm here to entertain. Hopefully you're entertained. If you are, now would be a good time to like and subscribe. So these are by far not my good woodworking chisels. These are more of the utilitarian style, metal backed. I can beat on them with a metal hammer and treat the blades a little rougher. You'll never see me using my nice chisels like this, but so you can start just kind of see the general shape of it. Let's see, and that's why I don't use my good woodworking chisels. There's a staple on the side. Still keep them sharp, so still use safety. So that's kind of the top half of the head kind of rounding out, going down. We're going to repeat this process all the way down to the end, and then I'll flip it back over, do the same process underneath, from underneath. So cut yourself a section, chisel it off, cut a section, chisel it off. If you're doing this with a bunch of Cub Scouts, maybe have one guy, start sawing a section, and then you can bring another scout in with a chisel and a hammer. They can start breaking parts out, but obviously there's a moving saw and there's a sharp chisel with hammer. So start on the head, and then have another boy, once he starts cutting that section, start down the tail, have him cutting the tail while another boy is coming in here, and or another person or whatever is coming down here doing this off. So that'll speed up time a little bit, because if you are doing this for Cub Scouts, you're in the den meeting more than likely, and you don't have a whole bunch of time. So optimize the amount of workers you can in here, and then once they kind of form the head and that's roughed out, you can even have another boy, depending on how closely you want to work together, you can have another one in with a draw knife starting to shape this kind of out. But all right, so I'm going to come back, I'm going to finish this. No point in, I'm just going to do this all the way down. So I will come back when I've got that done, and we'll move on to the next part, which is shaping it. Okay, so bit of a rain snow delay. I did get it roughed out before the snow hit as best as I could. It's pretty rough at the moment, but from here what we can do is take a spoke shave or a rasp or power sander. I'm going to take a draw knife, which is essentially just a big giant blade with handles you can pull towards you. I'm going to take a draw knife and try to shape this a little bit more. Obviously not everyone has a draw knife, so you can use you can use stuff like this, like a real aggressive file, to try to shape it, which would be good for the kids to have. You know, power tools, yeah, with you know, if an adult's watching or something, but you know, obviously with caution. So there are other things you can use. This is a spoke shave, so essentially it's just like the plane, like a hand plane, but where it's got a blade that protrudes out. But this is somewhat safe for the kids to use. It does have a sharp blade, and it is to be cautioned with, but you know, if you hit yourself with it, it's not going to hurt you, and they can, you know, they can pull. You can have a little more aggressive cuts, and you kind of pull to cut. So this is a spoke shave. This is something that's useful. You could use a combination of chisels, like we saw earlier, and just keep tapping away with some chisels on it. What else could you use? There are some power tools you could use, like a grinder. So this is like an angle grinder. It's got you can get like this flap disc sander, so it's like super aggressive sandpaper that spins. I wouldn't use kids on it without a lot of caution. They do have shields and stuff for this, but you know, I don't use them. So, but you can kind of use this to kind of shape it a lot more. And I would be using this right now, but it's raining and I don't want to use it in the garage because everything will be covered in sawdust. So take note to that. Okay, so here's this is the board. I've got it kind of clamped down to the bench. It's pretty solid. I've got this vise in the way, but I'm running out of room because this thing's 6 feet long. So basically this thing we're just going to take and pull it towards us. And we're just going to take off chunks. Little shapes. So you see how as I pull, it's taking like shavings like this, right? So it's taking off little, fairly big chunks of wood, but it's controllable. It's not like breaking the grain. So we're just going to keep kind of pulling. This doesn't have to be perfect at this point. We're just trying to give it some shape. I'm going to hit this vise and just destroy my hand, but see, there's big chunks like going the wrong way. So that's a good example that you're going the wrong way. So you want to take big chunks off. Just turn around and come back the other way. And you start seeing, and taking that and rounding it. So we're getting into here, and that's where you're hearing like chunks coming off. So I've got grain going this way, grain going that way. So we've got to like come from the high and work to the low and kind of shape that a little bit better, which we'll use the spoke shape for that. But you can use a file as well. So this little chunks here where I had the saw cuts, I'm basically taking this, laying it flat, trying to get it flat. And as I'm pulling, I'm trying to get to those cut marks to kind of smooth all that out. Remembering safety all the time. You are working with a blade. It is sharp, so take the appropriate precautions. So mainly you're looking to kind of smooth out the big chunks, the big step downs. You should never, you notice I'm kind of loose with the hammer. You should never really be hitting it real hard. You shouldn't, you basically just hold it and you're just doing, kind of rocking it, just doing a tap, gentle tap. If you're having to really nail at it, you're either A, taking off too much wood, or B, your chisel is not sharp at all. So you could try to resharpen your chisel a bit. But I see a couple more real high, big steps here that I want to kind of bring down. And I'll show you another option that you could use. So that's the chisel. You've seen the draw knife. Something else you could do is a big rasp or a big file, something like this. They make rasps in all different kind of looks and styles, but really inexpensive. You can go to Harbor Freight and get one for like $4 or something like that. But they're really good at taking off a lot of material. The one thing I advise is you'll figure out that grain earlier I was saying, so you want to go with the grain as you're filing. Or go very light passes if you're going against the grain. But you'll feel it, you know, you'll feel it be real difficult one way and easier the other way. Go with the easy way. So essentially you'll just take it and you can just kind of pull it, right? Just pull it towards you. You don't have to, I'm not using a ton of pressure here. You know, you can just long strokes. And you see, like, it's taking off. It's just hogging off material right now. And you just keep turning it, rotating it, and rounding out those edges. And you can kind of see it start to take shape. Right? And it's going to be rough. But that's okay, we're still in the rough out phase, right? And stuff like that. Kind of pull it towards you. And here, in like a matter of, what, a minute that I've been kind of pulling this across, we've already gotten some shape. Tell you can even hear the difference as I went against the grain there. So that's going with the grain, and this is against the grain. You hear it vibrating across. That's not the way you want to go, but if you pull it and force it, it'll start taking off a lot of material at once. So that is, you can already tell, like, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's getting a curve to it. It's starting to smooth everything out. This is the stage you want it. When you've gotten your shape in place and it's rough, you can just flip the rasp over. The other side is more of a smoother. And you can do the same. Just keep pulling. And it'll start smoothing it out. So like there is already, I would almost say smooth enough to paint. What I would do though, what I would advise, sand it like that, and then take some 60 grit sandpaper and just, you know, just do a light sanding all over the place and just kind of smooth out any rough spots and things like that with some sandpaper, and you'll be ready to paint. So I am going to go back to the draw knife and shape the rest of the snake out, because that's going to be quickest for me. I'm trying to do this to show it as an example, but I'm going to smooth the rest of this out, and I'll come back when I've got some more to show, some more progress. Okay, fast forward like 30 minutes later of just hard pulling on this. Now I'm rushing it. You know, obviously if you're doing it with your kids, it's going to take, you know, a couple den meetings, but this is where we're at. So I've got the whole top kind of roughed out. So little gouges like this, you know, don't worry about it. You can get that in sanding or filing after, but mainly the draw knife is just kind of giving it a little bit of shape. So we've got our kind of up and downs here. We've got it kind of roughed out. The rest of it we can get with the rasp or sanding, or it's just good enough, you know. We're gonna flip this over now. We're gonna do the bottom side, which is not nearly as much. We're just kind of chamfering the sides a little bit, and then we're gonna smooth out the little dips that we made. And from there, we'll be ready to kind of final file it, kind of give that last little bit of shape, or if you want to. If you're not, that's probably good enough, to be honest, to paint. Depends on how well you want to finish it. You know, what state you're in. So I will note that the smoother it is, the faster it will go. So if you are racing these, which that's what they're built for, the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. All right, so we're gonna flip it over. Everything's rounded, so it's gonna be harder to clamp down, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I should have done the bottom first, but it's clamping okay. So I got a couple clamps here to hold this work down against my workbench as I'm building it. If you don't have clamps, you should get some, because everybody should have some kind of clamp to clamp stuff. C clamp will work. This is an F clamp. It's made for, you know, more woodworking style, but you can get like the automotive C clamp will work. If you don't have a C clamp and you don't have a vise or anything, what you could do is get your bench and get another like 2x4 or something over top of it. You know, well, you have to have it stick out somewhere, but you could then like drive a couple screws into another piece of bigger wood underneath, and that could like kind of give it that holding power. You don't need a ton. You want enough that like when you're shaping it, that this thing's not bouncing all over the place. You want it to be safe, especially if you're using, you know, blades and stuff. So all right, so we've got kind of our final shape roughed out. It's still pretty rough, but we're still gonna file it and sand it, but this is basically what you're gonna want to end up with. So there's picture, like that's the head, right? And then you've got the slithery snake, and then he's like to his tail. So 6 feet long. We've taken a 4x4 and really hacked off a lot. Another thing you could do is get a 2x4 and get like maybe an 8-foot 2x4, and then just cut little 6-inch pieces. So you'd have enough for 4 of them. You could do like 1 for the head, and then 3 bumps like glued on top, and then shape those maybe to be, and then kind of undercut the hump. That might do something. Might be more of a pain in the butt to do that, but this is essentially what we're looking for. It weighs, let's say, about 5-7 pounds. Maybe 10, I don't know, I'll weigh it. But essentially, I'm running out of daylight and it's still raining, so tomorrow, hopefully if it's dry, I can get it outside and get like a final sand on it. But I started like sanding some spots, like here you can see right here where the saw marks were, where I was kind of cutting with the blade. There's still some steps, so then I started coming through with the rasp and kind of filing those out, you know. So basically I'll do some down here's a little better example. I kind of smoothed it out. So that's basically what you want to do, is just kind of get this to be one kind of fluid, cohesive, smooth thing. And in the end, you'll have yourself a snow snake that's ready for paint. You know, I'm probably gonna shape the head a little bit more, stuff like that. Like, there's the head, right? I'm trying to hold the 6-foot thing up in here. So there's the head. I'll probably round it a little bit more, just because I like to be elaborate, but you don't in any way have to be. Wood chips in my mouth. So yeah, that is the roughed out snow snake. So to give you an idea of the amount of shavings that you're going to have to take off the thing, that is a lot. So, like, yeah. So you take off, so you wind up taking off pretty large chunks. None of it's really sawdust, so it doesn't really get all over your garage stuff at this point, you know. You're still gonna sand it, but this is sweepable. You know, it's a big pile, but you can just sweep it up. So, yeah, I mean, I tried to show a bunch of different ways how to do it, different options. Obviously, not everybody has the tools I have. You know, you work with what you have, and just make it work. It doesn't have to look like this, you know. It doesn't have to be rounded. You could literally put a 2x4 on the ground if you wanted to, and just shape a head. You know, it's all up to you what your interpretation of a snow snake is. The main rule is it's got to be 6 feet long, between 5 and 6 feet long. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Between 5 and 6 feet long, you usually want it, and that's pretty much it. There's no weight. There's nothing in it to like putting weights in it like a Pinewood Derby car or anything like that. It's just the weight of the wood. So that's why I usually go with a 4x4. But that's not to say all this work, all this you know, shaving and stuff, we've trimmed a 4x4 almost down to a 2x4 essentially, but the railing might be worth it to you. You know, you just go buy a handrail and flip it, and that's the belly of the snake essentially, and then you just carve a head in it, right? You can do that with just some files or something. You know, with the kids, they can use their pocket knives and whittle a head out of it, and they can just whittle a tail, and you're good to go. So it depends. Like I said, the railing was more expensive than a 4x4, but the time that it'll save you might be worth it. So, okay, I'm gonna clean up because it's late and I'm thinking I want some dinner. And I'll pick this up tomorrow where I'll finish it. I'll kind of finish file it. I'm gonna try hopefully get the grinder on it. That'll make it a lot faster. I'll grind it smooth and maybe get a coat of paint on it. You can paint it with anything, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. So, all right, see ya.